Hello there. Greetings, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. Excuse me. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here today. I was actually going to skip this episode because I'm doing Exploring the Prog Universe 2 at the same time. That takes a lot of work. I don't know that people enjoy that one quite as much as they enjoy this one too. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to throw this out the bus. So we'll do this episode. This is the episode that I've been doing every couple of weeks. I do this called Playlist, and I just talk about what's happening with my playlist, what kind of music I'm listening to. I may tell you a little bit about some of the albums in the playlist. I haven't decided if I'm going to go too in depth in this. Also, if I taken anything out of the playlist and added anything into the playlist, I'll tell you that. And I'm going to give you a top 5, my top 5 favorite albums on my playlist right now. So without further ado, I'm going to get into it. So the first thing is that for those of you who maybe haven't seen this before, my playlist is, I'm an album type of guy. So I don't play just songs. I like the interaction of the songs within the album. They create a different kind of atmosphere than they do when they're pulled out of the album and put into separate playlists or just played by themselves on the radio. People don't really know what that album sound like that song came from, and I am not like that. I like to listen to the entire album, and if the song happens to be a hit and it's in the album, I'll listen to it. But normally speaking, I don't listen to the radio at all. Very rarely, unless I happen to be at work and somebody's insisting on playing their radio, which I had 3 or 4 days of one week, where, excuse me, there's a couple guys that were, girl had brought in her, I guess it was an iPod or something like that, and was playing whatever they wanted. She could punch in whatever they wanted, and all I had to listen to all day was funk and rap and a mixture of, they called it heavy metal, but really it's just funk metal. I don't even know if that's a genre, but anyways, by the end of the day I was ready to kill somebody. And anyways, she asked me if I wanted something, so I picked a couple songs that I wanted to play, and she played them, and the two guys were like, why you listen to that crap? It's dad rock. It sucks, man. You know. I said, yeah, well, you guys suck because you're listening to that shit all the time. Anyways, that's over with. So for me, my playlist, like I said, I don't listen to any of that stuff. My playlists are almost always the album. I play the entire album from front to back. On the occasion, there may be a song or two in there that I just don't want to hear anymore, and I may skip it. But generally speaking, when I'm playing my playlist, I'm doing stuff at the same time, so I don't normally do that unless I'm really just pissed with the song, you know. But other than that, I don't. So anyways, I have 20 albums on my playlist. Recently, I took Steely Dan's Can't Buy a Thrill album out of there. It'd been in there roughly, I'm going to say it was in there maybe 6 weeks. 6 months, 6 months or 7 months, somewhere in there. Sometimes I say weeks, but I really just mean months because I don't really think of them in week terms. So anyways, so that album was in there for a lengthy time. I liked it quite a bit. Usually with me, if an album can get like in the 5 months over range, it's a good album. Anything between 3 months and 5 months, that's an okay album. Anything over 5 months is a good album. Anything over 30 weeks or whatever that is, 7 months, 8 months, those are really good albums, because it's really hard to maintain that kind of intensity for such a long time. So anyways, so that was the album, that one of the albums that came out. The other one was, I'm trying to remember what it was now. Can't remember what the album was. I pulled it because it wasn't really doing all that well. It was actually the Supertramp's famous Last Words, and it wasn't that I don't like that album. I do like that album, but was kind of fairly familiar with the album before I even put it in the playlist. There was a few songs that I didn't really know, but so it didn't really have the kind of staying power that most albums that go into playlists, because it had already been up there and many of the songs were already fairly familiar with me. So it didn't last too long. It might have lasted a couple of months, 3 months maybe, and then I pulled it. So I pulled those two recently, and the two new albums that I put in were this one, Never Surrender from Triumph, and Neil Young's Harvest Moon. So both of these albums, okay, so there's a little bit of a history with the Triumph one, first of all. So Triumph I got into in 1979 with Just a Game. Immediately went back and got the other two, the Rock and Roll Machine and their debut album, which I both like. And then after that, I just kept buying their albums as they came out. So it was Allied Forces and then Progressions of Power. But for some reason, by the time it got to this album, which I think is an '83 release, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know why I have this '85 release in my head, but I don't think there was that long between Progressions of Power and the next album. Yeah, this one says '83, but it also says '86. I'm not really sure why, but I think this is an '83 release. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is an '83 release. This is a really good album. Yeah, it says right on the album '83. So it seems like a natural for me to just go from Progressions of Power, which I really liked, to this album when it came out. But for some reason, I think it was right around that time period where I was thinking about moving out west, because that would have made sense, because I was 19 when I made that trip out west. I hitchhiked out west when I was 19. I was thinking about living out there, and I think, if I remember correctly, there was a bunch of albums that came out that summer that I didn't get because I was too busy spending all my money going out west, and then I didn't have any work. So when I came back, I had to find a job again, and I got back with the company I was at and started getting some money there. But by that time, these albums have already come out and gone past, and I was starting to change my musical direction at that point too. I was becoming more blues oriented, more rockabilly style stuff, and so this didn't really fit into that, so I kind of skipped over it. And now I wished I didn't, because I've been listening to this album. It's been on the playlist now for about a week. This is so good. Like, I can't believe how good this is and how I just let it go by. Too Much Thinking, A World of Fantasy, yeah. Well, that song I knew. All the Way, Overture, Never Surrender. Yeah, this is just proliferated with some really good, solid time period Triumph. It fits really well in with Progressions of Power and Allied Forces. They're very similar. Not a lot of dissimilarity between the three albums. This one fits in there. It's actually cleaner sounding, and some heavier stuff on this too. And the album cover is fantastic as well. Now, I'm a Just a Game guy. I kind of like that proggy feel that they had, and that's one of my favorite albums of all time. But these other three albums are very similar and well worth time to listen to. So anyways, this is one of those albums that got put into my playlist that I'm really enjoying. The next one, The Harvest Moon, of course, it's an album that I know quite well. This was a little bit later than Never Surrender. This is like maybe half a decade or a decade later, like in the early 90s. And of course, he decided to make another kind of return to the harvest kind of thing, and it has some of that sound to it. Very emotional album. Lots of catchy, kind of really emotional feels to it. Some of the songs actually were making me sad, and I had to take it off for a while because it was a little bit much. But it has some really good The Unknown Legends on here. From Hank to Hendrix, of course. Harvest Moon, which is kind of the hit on here, which is a song that I absolutely love. And then some of these other songs are so catchy, I didn't realize how good this album was until I played it. And now it's in the playlist. So those are the two ones that replaced Steely Dan's Buy a Thrill. I think it's a Thrill. I'm drawing a blank on it. I said it earlier, but I can't remember now. And the Famous Last Words by Supertramp. Both good albums. These are really good as well. So for me, I like to keep the ball moving. I like to keep the strength up. Like I want the top albums constantly to be pushed for that ranking part, so that if I start finding it too easy, like one album starting to dominate too much, that means some of the stuff's been in there too long. And I had actually was starting to feel that a little bit before this current stock here, because there was about 5 or 6 albums that had been up there for 7 months. I wasn't playing much in the winter, so they were just occupying space, even though they weren't really progressing this type of listing thing that I like to do. So, yeah, so for me, that's how it works. They get put in the list, they move up. Most of the stuff at the top has been there 5-6 months. Most of the stuff in the middle, 3-4 months. And the newer stuff, of course, is within a month or so. So anyways, I now will give you my rankings for this week. I took out the 5 albums I think are the best and ranked them according to how I like them. There's not a huge change from the last one. I think one new album to the top bunch here. But all 5 of these are doing really well. I'm enjoying every single one of them a lot. First one up, Marillion's Clutching the Straws. This is a super strong album. I don't know if it'll end up being my favorite Marillion album at some point, but it definitely has qualifications to get that title. It's a heavier album than I think its predecessors. It's very emotional. He telling the story. He's a really great storyteller, Fish. Maybe a little bit too dominant on the vocals, but it's a heavier album than most Marillions, and I think this is the last one with Fish on it, and it just is absolutely good. And the album cover is really good as well. Look at the attitude on some of these guys. It's pretty scary, eh? Not a place I'd want to visit on a Saturday night. Anyways, there's some really good stuff on this album. It's been on my it's been on or in my playlist for maybe, I'm gonna guess, like between 3 and 4 months. It's been up there, and then it was waiting its turn for a couple months too before it even got on there. And I liked it when I first heard it, the very initial try. All the stuff on here is, I haven't really got to a point where I'm starting to differentiate between individual tracks. I just know I like the whole thing really a lot. That's generally how it is with me. I'll grow to like something a lot, and then I'll start wanting to know more about it and start breaking down. Well, that's that song, and that's this song, and that's so that I can identify them instead of just hearing how good they are. Yeah, so excellent album. So number 5. Number 4. This one's been working its way through the system for a while now too. Really good, heavy. Maybe not the heaviest Judas Priest album, but the tracks that are heavy are super heavy. There's such good stuff on here. The guitaring is amazing. Of course, this is Judas Priest Stained Glass. I think I've called it Stained Glass in the past, but it isn't. So when I purchased it, it first sat on my shelf for a bit. Then I put it in the list to go on my playlist, and then it worked its way up. It got on my playlist. It's been on here maybe, I want to say it's been probably on here maybe 3 months, maybe. But it's doing really well and getting stronger all the time. Coming in number 4 here. And of course, you've got things like Exciter is on here. White Heat, Red Hot. I love that track. Better By You, Better Than Me. That may be one of the best Judas Priest songs ever. It's just so catchy. You just find, after you've heard that a couple times, you find yourself singing it constantly. Invader, of course, really good song. Saints in Hell, Savage, Beyond the Realms of Death, Heroes End. Yeah, like it's just, and then it's got a couple of bonus tracks here. The live version of Better By You, Better Than Me. Really killer. Both versions are great. And that's a fantastic cover too. This is definitely an album that's going to be, when I eventually do a Judas Priest album ranking, this is going to be up there. Top 5 for absolute sure. Could be even higher. I'm not sure. but it's doing well right now, coming in at number 4. Next up, this was a number one, probably number 1 for a good couple of months. It was my favorite album, and it's lost a little bit, but not too much. Still, and then last night I was listening to it and thinking, I got to put it higher than it is. But how can you put it higher? You know, somebody has to go lower if somebody goes higher, right? We're talking about Stormwatch from Jethro Tull. Absolutely, this is a heavy album for Jethro Tull. Really good. It came out around that same period of time as Songs from the Wood, so it has pretty much all the same musicians that I absolutely like. I just want to check something because I'm pretty sure this is the final album with John Glascock. He suffered a congenital heart attack, and that's such a tragedy. I can understand. And then they lost Barrymore Barlow because of that incident. So they lost really 2 really unreplaceable types out of this band. Really hard to replace guys like that. Yeah, there's better bass players out there. Yeah, there's maybe better drummers out there. But those drummers and bass players are playing elsewhere too. So, you know, it's really difficult to find people that will fit those slots for this style of music. But anyways, both of them very impactful in this album. This is such a gritty album, so gritty. All of the tracks on here I like. Flying Dutchman, oh yeah, just killer stuff on here. So this was number 1 probably for a couple months. Now it's number 3, but still it's playing as a number 1 album. Like, it's so good. I still want to play it all the time. This is an album I wished I'd listened to a lot more earlier on. Sorry, I just noticed that when I put the booklet back in, I didn't slip it under the tag right, so it's not closing properly, and that's going to be a problem. So, yeah, and the cover's great too on this album. Yeah, so excellent album. Stormwatch, Jethro Tull, number 3. Number 2. Any surprise here? Yeah, I've been listening to this a lot. I had it's in my Hawkwind first prog episode. It was in my look back at a classic rock album, even though I spelled the title wrong and I pronounced it wrong. Yeah, I wasn't doing very well with this at all. You know, I think on the Warriors of on the Edge of Time, I had it down. I was calling it Warriors at the Edge of Time, and then I had spelled Warriors wrong. So, yeah, I was really not getting it too well back then. But you know what? It gets another chance here. Still on my playlist. Probably, I think this is currently the second longest serving album now on the list. And it's around 5.5 months, 6 months in that time period. And it's only getting stronger. Like, I've been listening to it a lot, and it's heavy, very heavy for even for Hawkwind, but very psychedelic and lots of that spacey sound. I think this is a better album than Hall of the Mountain Grill. That's just my opinion. But both albums are killer. I mean, and this is the last one with Lemmy on it. I think they were getting tired of him, and I'm pretty sure he was getting tired of them. So, but excellent album. If you want to get into Hawkwind, this is the one. I recommend this one or Hall of the Mountain Grill, either one of them. Any of the stuff actually that came out in the first 6 or 7, you're okay to go if you can go for any of those. Okay, number 1, once again, this is a strong album. I listened to it last night. I'm actually loving everything about this album. This is probably my favorite album from this group. Uriah Heep's Chaos and Chaos and Color. I love the cover of this album. I love the book layout of this album and all the pictures. And it's so clear sounding. Production is excellent. Mick Box's guitar playing is phenomenal on this album. And the biggest surprise for me is, as good as the instrumentation is the vocalist here just is killer. I don't even know who this is, to be honest. I never really checked to see who it was. So I'm going to check right now, because I need to know who this guy is, because he's so good. Of course, we know that guy. That's Mick Box there. Yeah, Phil Lazon, he plays vocals as well, but I don't think he's the vocalist. Bernie Shaw, yeah, Bernie Shaw. Now I remember. Really good. This guy has such a great voice, and I don't think that they could have found a vocalist to match what they've been doing all their career so well as this guy. He just fits. He seems to fit that Uriah Heep sound so well. Very forward voice, very clear, excellent singer. So there you have it. That's my 5 favorite albums for the current playlist. Uriah Heep's Chaos and Order, Chaos and Color, my apologies. Hawkwind's Warrior, On the Edge of Time. Yeah, I think maybe they might be testing me for some mental illnesses. I'm not sure. I hope not, but you never know. Jethro Tull's Stormwatch. Judas Priest's Stained Class. And last but not least, Clutches with Straws from Marillion. All 5 of them are excellent albums. I just find it hard that I got to pick one. One of these guys has got to be number 5. You know, I think they're all deserving of number 1. And then, of course, the 2 new albums, Never Surrender from Triumph and Harvest Moon from Neil Young. Now, I do have a ton of stuff coming up that's going to go in the list. But this video is already running a little bit long, so maybe I'll do a little bit of that next time when I do it to try to keep it a little fresh, so I'm not doing the same thing over and over again. I want to keep this show a little bit different from all my other shows. This is just a free-for-all show, I'm calling this. Like it's open to whatever I want to do. I don't want to have structure on every single thing I ever do. Some shows it's good to have structure on because some people tune in just for that particular style. They want to see that. But this one's going to be a little bit more wide open and talk about my music collection, which is the thing I love, and I'm sure everybody else loves this kind of stuff as well. I did get a new shelf here, this one, so there's now 3 over here. So that's why you're seeing this over here now, because I wanted to space. I had a little too much albums cramming in there. I was always trying to find a spot to put stuff. So now I've broken it up a bit for over that side, and the next one I'll do is this one, break it up a little bit too. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of my playlist, and you know, what are your guys' listening habits too? I'm being curious if anybody who's watching this has an interest what their playlist is, or what they do, or how they listen to their music, because you know, sometimes I get an idea from somebody and I say, hey, that'll work if I use that, you know. And that's what it's all about, right? So anyways, I hope to see you again next couple weeks. Maybe I'll do this another couple weeks from now when I do episode number, I guess that'll be number 4. This is number 3. So if you like this, please hit the like and subscribe. If you got any comments about this, or something maybe you think you would like me to include in this, and if I can, I will. And don't forget the notification bell, and we will see you next week with or a couple weeks from now with my next playlist. So take care and have a good one. Bye.